Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Lofty N-Scaler. I am Curtis, your Lofty N-Scaler. And if I can build a layout, so can you. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about some updates that I've been doing. Life has gotten in the way of making videos, and I apologize. But let's get to it, and I'll show you what I've done since I've seen you last. So, do you all remember the hole in the floor of the loft, which was attempting to swallow me up? I avoided stepping in the hole because that's where the foldable stairs are. So I've corrected that issue. As you can see, I've got a collapsible door that folds down and folds into place. I put the carpet on it, and it doesn't blend perfectly, but it acts okay. It does okay. So that way, now it's sturdy enough that I can stand on it, and I can work on it when I'm up here, so I can close the entrance to the loft, and if I want to, I can keep the heat up here, I can keep the cold up here, whatever I want. It's a little bit better for air. I pretty much leave it open all the time. And then I have this post here, which actually is just a 2x4, and all that does is help me get in and out of the studio, or the loft, I mean, not studio, my loft, so I can safely turn around, grab this, and then head back downstairs. One other little handy-dandy feature I've installed here in the loft area is there's no light switches up here, so the power outlets are on all the time. So I either have to turn on a switch manually on a lamp or light to get it to turn on, or I have to, yeah, that's what I have to do. So I bought this off of Amazon. This was with my last layout. So like, for instance, the Roku Z21 doesn't have an on-off switch. It's just either on or it's unplugged. So I wanted to be able to turn it on and off along, whenever I wanted to, and not leave it on all the time. So that's what this is. This is just a cheap radio unit. I've got a wall, 3 plugs, and it's 1 through 3. And so I can turn off lights if I want to, or I can turn them back on just with this remote. It's a very handy device. So as I come up into the loft, all I have to do is push a button, lights come back on. So I have been working on a little bit of wiring. I actually haven't dropped feeder wires yet, and life is just in the way. It's work, and I'm training for a new job and things like that. So I apologize. I just haven't been up here like I wanted to. But I can show you the progress I've made with the first panel. Now, if you recall, I had that panel that was going to swing out with my DCC stuff on it, and I was going to use magnets to hold it up. Well, that didn't work out at all. So that was bad idea number 1. Okay, so I still have it on a hinge, and actually I could just leave it sit down if I wanted to, just lay it down. If I wanted to actually sweep it back up underneath, I might still do that, but Tom's Trains and Things had a video on some of the mistakes that you modelers make, and one is organization. My organization up here is absolutely atrocious. The problem is I'm working out of bins with sealable lids, and it's just not easy to go into each sealable lid, and any flat surface stuff is lying on, so I use something and I put something on the lid. So I'm going to have to work on figuring out some sort of shelf system that I can have drawers, I can pull things out, and then a flat workspace that I can work somewhere around here, or some place to hold my tools, something like that. So I'm going to have to figure something out like that. I have to get organized a little bit better. But let me go ahead and show you the panel that I've been working on for the DCC. Okay, so this is my panel that I've been working on for DCC. These are my DigiKeys servo controllers, the DR4024s. I still have one more 4024 to install here. It's probably going to go right up here. And then I'm going to have to change out these connectors. These connectors are only 3. I'm going to have probably use 6 connectors, WAGO connectors. And these over here are like hot glued down, and that's what I did the last time, and they stay in place. The only way they're going to move is if I get some alcohol. I can put some alcohol in there and it dissolves that connection with the hot glue, and then it'll pop up. These are not glued down yet. Since I'm going to add a third one, it's a good thing I didn't, because I'm just going to have to pop these up anyway, and then I'll run power to the third one. Now this here is power only. This goes to a transformer, and this goes, basically it's going to power all my servo motors here, so I don't worry about power. The DCC unit, the DigiKeys DR5000, is in place. It is giving me my track signal, my bus, which is going to my 2 signals here, and so I'm just using wire from this signal to this signal. This is not powering the unit, it's just offering the signal to it. And then this is going to be my DR4088, which is going to be the local net, and it's going to be the connector which connects for track detection. So these are going to be all my sections, 16 sections. I don't know how many sections I'm going to have. I think one of these units will suffice for this first section. I don't think I'm going to have more than 16 sections here. And so I just have the one power, which gives the power up here. And this unit divides into 2 pieces, 2 sides. So I could actually have 2 separate sides to it if I want. But anyway, this is, I just put a loop in here to give DCC signal to both sides. And so the way this works is that when there's a voltage drop or a detection, like a locomotive or a car with lights goes into that section, it detects the voltage drop and then relays it back to the computer, and then it tells the computer, hey, there's something in that section. So you know, then it marks that track as occupied. And so my common rail is going to be my white, and so the white is going to go out and it's going to go on the common rails, and the common rails will not be cut. Only the detection rails will be cut. So my common will stay solid, and then however many sections, like for the train station, I'll have 3 sections, and I'll have 2 cuts in there. So 1, 2, 3, give me 3 sections, and then I'll be 1 section, 2 section, 3 section. Then I'll have a drop wire for each one of those sections. Okay. So this is kind of simplistic. I used staples to run this stuff. There's other ways to do it too. Now the staples are sticking out underneath here, so I have to be careful. I will cut those off at some point with my Dremel, just so I don't hurt myself. And right now I just have this resting on my lap, but this can swing out, so I can swing this out and it swings down on the, and it just hangs down. But that's what it's doing right now. And then the power is coming off the side here. I've got it going to the breaker, and then it's connected into that radio control unit, so I can turn it on and off. But this power supply should run a bunch of these DigiKeys units without having to run any power off of this. So I have not configured this unit yet. One of the problems I ran into, the laptop that I was going to use for this layout, I went to go fire it up, and it's deader than a doornail. It kind of turns on. It doesn't go through the boot process. I don't know what's wrong with it. It was an inexpensive laptop, and honestly, I don't think it's worth being repaired. It looks to me like it's not even going through the boot cycle, so it's probably something to do with the motherboard. If it went through the boot cycle and maybe the hard drive was bad, that would be something different. But I guess it could have a loose connection in it, but I don't hear it doing anything in there. It's just, the screen doesn't even really pop up. I don't get even a blue screen of death with it. So I do have another laptop PC that I use for photography that I'll bring over here. It's a big PC, and it's a bigger PC, and I didn't really want to use it over here, but it's okay. I'll use it over here. So the wire I'm using right now, of course, again, I think I talked about this earlier, is this 20 gauge doorbell wire. And right now, I'm not using anything bigger for the track bus. This layout's actually fairly small, so we're just going to see how this works for now. I might use a bigger track bus wire, and I'm just looking down at it right now. The stuff I have now is 14 gauge, and it's stranded, and it's too big. So we'll just see how that plays out. Okay, so the other update is, and I apologize for having my video light back here. It's tight up here, guys, and it's hard to move this stuff around. And you'll see on the floor the mess of stuff. I've got to get it organized. It's just horrible. But this is the frame for the extension on the Cam Connect stuff. And let me pan down here real quick. Okay, so here it is, and then this is going to go right here, and it's going to screw and clamp on here, and then I still have to make a leg for it to support it out here at the end. But I just have to measure that and put it up there. And then once it's screwed in there, I'll put some foam on it, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so you can see that I've made some progress. It's not the progress that I've wanted to make. The servo motors are all going to have extension cables on them. I forgot to mention that earlier. So the servo connection is down here, and I'm going to have like anywhere from 3 to 6 feet extension cables on these things to extend them and connect them into there. And so it shouldn't make any problem at all for the servos. I think you can go, I don't know how many feet you can go with a servo connection, but it should be good. But that being said, I did find my soldering iron, so that's out. I really want to get to this stuff and start soldering my connections in. And I have sort of revised the layout, what it's going to look like for the coal mine. So maybe I'll go over that in our next video and see if I make any progress on soldering in these leads. And then once we get the solder in and soldering the leads in, then we'll start painting the track, putting ballast down. I would like to make a loop on this end over here, and then make a loop over here. And I think what I'm going to do is for this over here where the coal mine is going to go, I still have those two straight Cam Connect pieces. One is 36 inches, one is 32 inches. I'm just going to actually just connect it to the end of this and run those two sections out for 6 feet. And then I'm going to build myself another frame. It's going to be a 2 foot by 4 foot frame. And so that'll give me 4 feet. Yeah, 4 feet by 4 feet square that I can run my coal mine and run a loop around that end. We'll see how that works, okay? So that's the latest thinking I am. I was thinking I was going to have a special Cam Connect piece made, but I don't think I'm going to actually have it made. Since I already have those other two pieces, I'm going to kind of wait and see before I start spending money on that. My money is limited because Mrs. Enscaler still has me on a budget. And she said I'm going to be on a budget for quite some time. I gave Mrs. Enscaler my Christmas list, which included a coal loader, a modern coal loader, you know, where it has a silo and a conveyor belt going up into it for N scale. And I also gave her several relatively inexpensive tools she could give me. So we'll see what Mrs. Enscaler does. She may not do anything. She usually doesn't get me anything for Christmas, just because that's the way she is. I mean, she gets me something, but it's never usually something that I request. I actually tore the pages out, printed it out of what I wanted, and gave it to her this year. So we'll see what happens. She did actually buy me a train years ago, an HO scale Athearn steam locomotive, my Monon, because I was going to do a Monon HO scale layout for one time. But so she did actually get me that. That was cool. But I guess I really don't ask too many for train things, but I did this year, so we'll see. I really want the coal loader thing. That would really be super cool. And then I'm going to start having to think about scenery and structures too for this section of the layout. So I'm going to have to start building on those. And it's really kind of relatively flat here. But I'm going to have on this section over here, this L section, I'm going to have a raised area here and a small station or some other, some sort of business, maybe a brewery or something. So there's all different aspects to this, not just laying track and running trains. It's building models, and that's what makes the hobby fun, right? So stay tuned. I will try to get back on schedule. I'm training for a new job, and so it's just I've just been really busy. So I appreciate your time. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button below, and if you hit the bell icon next to it, you'll be notified of any videos that I post. Anyway, I appreciate your time in watching the video, and we'll see you next time.